I'd like to welcome all of you to class today. Those of you who are not with us for various reasons, or those of you who want to review part of our lesson, this 15-minute video hopefully will help. In class, we're doing three things. You can see just by this agenda what our learning log will be. We'll have a discussion of your mentor text and then also introducing the first major paper for English 1010. All right, so before I move on to the next slide, if you are not with us, we're actually going to have students read from our They Say, I Say books in the classroom. There's an introduction to a unit about universities and colleges, and we're going to actually read a few of these throughout the semester because I feel like even though it's directly not related to English 1010, it's certainly important to learn as much as we can about college before we start investing a lot of time and money in a particular university. So if you're not here, I provided an additional slide that you can look over some questions that you can think about at home about college. So when I get to those, I'll explain that. So the first thing, again, if you're not in class, you can see on this list there are several types of colleges that you can attend. And it's really important that you understand what's behind each of these types of colleges. So if you're not with us, in the teacher notes on this slide, I've given some background. For example, if you think you are going to a liberal arts college or university, what does that mean? Take time to look in the teacher notes on the slide. And it's just, each of them are just short paragraphs that can give you some background. And then I added this slide for additional questions to think about college that go beyond what the introduction to that unit in They Say, I Say talks about. So pause the video for just a second and think about where you want to go to yourself, answer some of these questions before you ever commit to a certain place. The last thing you want to do is start forking out a lot of money just because your friends are going one place. The college might be a good fit for them, but it might not be a good fit for you. So in class, and if you are at home, I want you to do the same thing. You're going to be recording some information in your academic notes. I'd like you to go to the website of the college or higher institution that you think you're going to attend next year, and browse in the website. Look at the mission statement. What's their primary purpose for being in business? And then also look at accompanying services that university or college provides you as students. I think more than just where you're going to school, the behind the scenes services are so important. Many universities, for example, have placement programs for jobs at the end, and they actually bring people into the university so that you don't have to go away to apply for jobs. So see what's available and record some in your academic notes. All right, and so then the next thing that we're doing, we talked last class period about some research behind writing process, and part of that is learning from good writers. So I asked everyone to bring a sample of good writing to class, and we will actually be working in small groups to share those mentor texts and answering some of these questions in small groups. If you are at home, you can do this on your own. But I want everyone to make sure that you look at the last question. I asked you to respond to a prompt, or a writing prompt about a writing project that was difficult for you. So now that we've spent several days talking about different things, rethinking reading, rethinking writing, perspectives, how would you, if you were to be given that same writing prompt now, how would you approach it differently? How would you go about writing the paper and thinking about writing the paper before you ever began? What have you learned so far in this class that maybe could have helped you back then? So hopefully the key word here is flexibility, because we're all going to encounter more difficult writing exercises in life, and we need to know how to navigate through them rather than just be on a sinking ship by ourselves, which is usually what happens. Most of the time, students are either too afraid to ask or and seek out help. So think about how you would approach that differently. All right, with that in mind, moving into the main part of our lesson today, which is to introduce everyone to our first major paper, which will be an observation essay. Before we begin, in class, we're doing a little exercise where I'm having them draw two circles on a paper, and they're going to try to recreate the front and the back of a penny. And the whole purpose of this exercise is to see how observant you actually are about things that are around you all the time, without us being too observant. I think little kids are a lot better than we are as adults. So once you've done that, here's, I guess, the answers. So how did you do? A writer that I really like, her name is Mary Oliver, talked about being more observant. She says, pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. So those are three short, succinct sentences, but I think those three sentences together collectively will guide you through this first essay. So in class, I'm going to have everyone pull out your unit packet and extra handouts. So the first one, I think it's in your extra handouts. Would you turn and find out or look for essay number 1 handout, paper number 1 handout, and pause the video and read the rationale, the task, and then look at the accompanying grading criteria. How are you going to be graded on this particular essay? One of the things, when we put together this essay here at the school, we put it for 60 points. Well, we changed it now to this essay is going to be 100. So whatever your points over 60 will be, just know in the grade it will shift to a percentage, which will end up 1 through 100. To give you an idea about what is an observation essay, the rest of your unit booklet has information and sample observation essays. So I have quite a few professional models along with some student models, but today we're just going to look at some professional models. There in your extra handouts, there is a handout that goes this way. It's at the very end, and it's a chart that you fill in by reading some sample observation essays. It will ask you some questions. Make sure you know that the questions are both on the front and the back for one essay. So you will pick 3 professional models from your packet. I'm telling you 2 of them that I want you to read, and you will choose the third one. And then the rest of class, you're going to be reading essays. To give you some ideas of one of them, Annie Dillard, she is a famous essayist, American essayist. She wrote hers entitled, it was called Life on the Rocks, and it's about her visit to the Galapagos Islands. So most of us unfortunately haven't had the opportunity to go to this amazing place that's out 1,000+ miles west of Ecuador, out in the Pacific Ocean. Anyway, this is the place that you probably remember from your science classes where Darwin figured out his theories based on the animals and of these isolated animals on the island. So one of the things that I've heard that's so cool about the Galapagos Island, that people can interact with the different species, and as though we are one with the species. So here's some cool pictures, and here's some other cool pictures about the Galapagos. I included if you're really interested in this place, I've included some extra information down in the footnotes of the slides. Anyway, back to, so that is going to be one of the essays you will read, Life on the Rocks. Pay attention to how she writes an observation essay. It doesn't have a climax. It doesn't have a bunch of dialogue in it. It's almost like reflecting with herself about a place that she visits. And I want you to think about that as you eventually select your own place. Now, the second essay that I would like you to read is E.B. White. He is the author of Charlotte's Web, but he's also known as the greatest essayist in American history. So this is one of his many essays. It's entitled Once More to the Lake, and he visits a place where he used to go as a child. And again, pay attention to the way he crafts and organizes and what kind of details he puts in his observation essay. And then there are some others to choose from. One of my favorite ones in the packet is Front Porch. The Front Porch, it's kind of philosophical observation about front porches. Anyway, you choose the third one. So the rest of the class will be for you to read. But before you leave, I want you to start thinking about where you can go to observe. And pay attention to the unit syllabus because you have to have gone there. I will give you a day for a lab day to write. And so if you haven't visited the place, it's not going to be very productive. Choose something that is out of the ordinary. I think some of the best observations in the past have been students who have actually gone somewhere where they've never been in the Salt Lake Valley before. I've given you some examples on the unit or paper number 1 assignment sheet. So think about that. Remember, you will write it as an active participant in the same way that E.B. White, Annie Dillard, and the other author that you choose has written his or her observation essay. So get ready to write, but for today, the majority of class is reading and learning about what an observation essay, what it is. Just before I close, I've included some other images and just as I know we don't live by California, but think about some places in Utah that you could get to in the next few days to take a lot of notes, record your ideas, record your thoughts, so that when you come back to the computer, when you come back to class, you are ready to weave them into an amazing paper. So here's some pictures, just some sceneries, but it can also be something that's busy, like a carnival, the Utah State Fair. So you decide what it is you'd like to go to. So have fun with picking a place, going to a place, and reading and learning about how to write an essay. Thank you.